So welcome everyone. I'm here today with Dr. Mel Borins, family physician based in Toronto, Ontario, and creator of the FIT test song, where FIT stands for the fecal immunochemical test. So welcome, Dr. Borins. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. So let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a family doctor in Toronto, and ever since I was in medical school, I was very interested in prevention, because obviously preventing something from happening is much better than getting the disease and having to treat it. And back in long time ago, I wrote a book called An Apple a Day, a Holistic Health Primer, which was really about prevention, the whole idea that mind, body, spirit, the more we are in tune with ourselves and our environment, and the more we're taking care of ourselves, the better, more likely we're going to stay healthy. And I know that music and humor are wonderful ways of getting messages across. So back a number of years back, myself, Sandy Buckman, a colleague of mine, and Mitch Girio, we created some 3 cancer screening songs, because the government of Ontario has a cancer screening program to basically catch colon cancer, cervical cancer, and breast cancer early through various screening modalities. And I decided to write 3 funny medical songs about these 3 screening processes, just to get people's attention and maybe encourage them to do the screening test. And because I really believe that music and humor are great ways to get people's attention. And these songs were Cancer Care Ontario had these songs up on their website, and people got a chance to hear them and got some attention with them. Lately, I realized, the social media and the web and everything is all about images. So I decided to put some images to the song, the fecal immunochemical test. And so I put some images to the song so that it would be more accessible and more people might view it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. So the goal really of the song is to encourage people to get screened for colorectal cancer. But what are some of the biggest challenges or barriers that you've seen to achieving this goal?
Well, if you're between the ages of 50 and 74, you should have a fecal occult screening test every 2 years, and it picks up blood in the stool, which could be a sign of colon cancer. Certainly, if you have a family history of colon cancer, you might want to screen earlier than age 50, or your physician may decide to do a colonoscopy instead. If you have symptoms that might indicate something's wrong, then a colonoscopy or a gastroscopy, where they look into your stomach, might be in order to, again, pick up cancer early. And the whole thing with colon cancer screening is people have to do a poop test. They actually, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with dealing with their own poo, and especially having to put in a little kit and sending it off in the mail. And I have some patients who they get the kit in the mail, and then they procrastinate. They just maybe aren't motivated or don't see the importance of it, or just aren't comfortable with dealing with their poo. And then we have to send them another kit because the kit that we sent them expired. And the whole strategy is to discuss this fecal occult screening or cancer screening for colon cancer with your physician. And your physician is the one who will mail a requisition to the lab, and the lab will mail you the kit, and then you do the test and you drop it off to the lab. And this way, we can actually make a huge difference in the disease process.
Absolutely. And how important is, so the family physician, as you mentioned, connecting people to that process, but in general, especially as we see today with rising rates of early age onset colorectal cancer, what is that role of the family physician? How does that, how does that impact this whole process of getting screened?
Well, you are right there. We see an increased rate of people with colon cancer even before the age of 50.
Yeah.
And so being on the lookout for, sometimes physicians will do a blood test to see if you're anemic or not, or if you have symptoms, sometimes your physician will investigate, as I mentioned, with a colonoscopy or a gastroscopy. And so just to be conscious that colon cancer, breast cancer screening with mammograms, and pap tests are ways that we can pick up cancer early and help to treat it more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. The family physician definitely has a very important role in this process. And
even if you don't have a family physician, you can access on cancer, CCO,
Cancer Ontario. Cancer Care Ontario.
Cancer Care Ontario.
Right.
I think on their website you can actually, even without having a family doctor, you can get a kit sent to you by mail to have this test done.
Yeah. And so those barriers you mentioned, about people not wanting to, this sort of fear of, getting close to poo or, those types of barriers. How do we overcome those types of barriers?
Well, the only way to overcome it is just to say, hey, it's an important test. It is a little bit uncomfortable. It's not the most easy test to do, although it is pretty easy. And just, I've in my practice, luckily, I have picked up some early cancers that have been curable by proper treatment. And so just to encourage people that it makes a difference, that it is important. And even though it's a little uncomfortable, it's way better than having the disease, that's for sure. And, colonoscopy is a little uncomfortable too, but it's also a very good screening for people at high risk or people with symptoms. The FIT test, or the fecal immunochemical test, is good for asymptomatic people or people with no symptoms. And just to test every 2 years is a simple thing to do, along with pap tests that are every 3 years and mammograms that are every 2 years. These are strategies to catch cancer early.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Borins, for sharing some of your insights about screening and for sharing this amazing song with the world. And we really appreciate you talking to us today. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Iris. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Borins.